In the uncertain years that followed the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine was a land caught between past and future, weighed down by poverty, corruption, and chaos. Villages lay quiet under the snow, farmlands stretched across endless fields, and people lived with the daily struggle of survival. It was in this fragile landscape that a predator emerged, a man who would earn the name, the Beast of Ukraine. His name was Anatoly Onoprienko, and between 1989 and 1996, he slaughtered entire families in a campaign of terror that left 52 people dead. His victims were not only individuals but mothers, fathers, children, sometimes babies in cradles, all extinguished in minutes. His crimes spread fear through every town and every village. Doors were barred, windows shuttered, families huddled together at night wondering if they would be next. He did not kill in passion or in bursts of madness. He killed methodically, brutally, with the cold precision of a man who had long abandoned his humanity. Anatoly Yuryovich Onoprienko was born in 1959 in the small village of Lasky in Zhytomyr Oblast, Ukraine. His life began with abandonment. His mother died when he was only 4 years old. His father, overwhelmed and incapable of caring for him, placed Anatoly and his brother into an orphanage. There, Anatoly grew up stripped of affection, of warmth, of family ties. Soviet orphanages were institutions where survival mattered more than nurture. He learned early that the world owed him nothing. He was bullied, neglected, and left with a wound that never healed. As he grew older, he drifted through life with no anchor, no sense of belonging. He carried with him an emptiness, a hatred that slowly festered. He spoke later of how the lack of family had scarred him, how he resented those who had homes and love. That resentment, twisted by years of isolation, would one day explode into violence. His first murders came in 1989. He was 30 years old when he broke into a house and gunned down a family of 10. Parents, children, even a baby were shot. Their lives ended in minutes. For Anatoly, it was not enough to kill one. He felt compelled to annihilate everyone, to erase entire bloodlines. He looted valuables and vanished into the night. Investigators at the time failed to connect this massacre to a serial predator. In the chaos of late Soviet decline, it was marked as an unsolved tragedy, another violent crime in a society fraying at the edges. For several years, Onoprienko remained silent, moving through Europe, drifting from job to job, committing burglaries in places like Germany, living as a transient with no ties and no purpose. But in 1995, something inside him awakened, and he began the killing spree that would define him as one of the most terrifying mass murderers of the 20th century. His method was horrifyingly simple. He would walk through rural villages at night, scanning for isolated houses with lights glowing in the windows. Once he chose a target, he would break inside, armed with a shotgun. He never left witnesses. Parents were shot first, children next, even infants cradled in their mother's arms. Once the family was dead, he searched the home for valuables, money, jewelry, sometimes nothing more than scraps of food. Then he set the house ablaze to cover his tracks. Entire families vanished in a single night. Between 1995 and 1996, he murdered 43 people in this way. 9 families were completely wiped out, erased from the face of the earth. His trail of blood spread from Zhytomyr to Lviv, from Rivne to Khmelnytsky. Everywhere he went, he left behind smoking ruins and grief-stricken relatives who could not comprehend the scale of the slaughter. For villagers, life became a nightmare. Parents no longer tucked their children into bed with comfort, but with fear. Rumors spread through the countryside of a phantom, a demon who came in the night. Newspapers gave him names: the Terminator, Citizen O, the Beast. No one felt safe. Families stayed awake all night. Neighbors formed patrols. Priests prayed in churches for protection. In a nation already struggling with poverty and uncertainty, the thought that an unstoppable killer was moving from house to house drove people into panic. Police launched the largest manhunt in post-Soviet Ukrainian history. Thousands of officers combed forests, patrolled train stations, and checked villages. Yet Onoprienko remained elusive. He knew how to disappear. He traveled by rail, slept in abandoned buildings, carried survival gear, and always kept his weapons near. He was a ghost, slipping through cracks in a fractured system. What set him apart from other serial killers was his choice of victims. Most killers target individuals selected for personal reasons or compulsions. Onoprienko killed entire families. Psychologists later suggested that his childhood in an orphanage, his resentment at being denied a family, drove him to destroy those who had what he lacked. In his warped mind, killing families was a form of vengeance. He admitted later that once he entered a house, he felt compelled to kill everyone, that leaving survivors was unthinkable. His killings were not random bursts of rage, they were deliberate annihilations. He saw himself as an agent of destiny, a man chosen to cleanse. Whether these were delusions or excuses, what mattered was the cold fact. He showed no mercy. The break came in April 1996. Acting on a tip, police raided the home of a relative where Onoprienko had been staying. Inside, they found stolen property linked to murder scenes, weapons, and the shotgun that had ended so many lives. When arrested, Onoprienko did not resist. Instead, he confessed quickly, almost proudly. He admitted to 52 murders, describing them with chilling precision. He recalled dates, places, methods, as though recounting the steps of a job well done. Investigators listened in horror as he explained how he entered houses, how he shot parents first to reduce resistance, how he executed children afterward, how he lit fires to erase the evidence. He spoke of voices guiding him, of destiny, of missions. Yet beneath the talk of fate, his words revealed a man who relished control, who enjoyed the act of extermination. At his trial in 1999, the nation learned the full extent of his crimes. Families of victims filled the courtroom, weeping as prosecutors recounted the massacres. Survivors stared at him in disbelief, unable to comprehend how one man could destroy so many lives. Onoprienko sat calmly, sometimes smiling, sometimes staring blankly. He showed no remorse. He declared that he had killed to live, that he had been chosen. Psychologists testified that he was a psychopath, incapable of empathy, consumed by delusions of grandeur. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to death. For many Ukrainians, it seemed like justice. But in 2000, Ukraine abolished capital punishment. His sentence was commuted to life imprisonment without parole. He was confined in a maximum security cell, isolated, watched day and night. He lived out his years behind bars, still unrepentant, still claiming he had been destined to kill. In 2013, he died of heart failure in prison, his body carrying secrets of what might have been even more victims than he confessed. For Ukraine, the shadow of his crimes lingers. Villages remember the nights when families were wiped out. Survivors remember the funerals, the ruins, the screams that never came because no one was left alive. He remains one of the deadliest serial killers in history, not only for the number of lives he took, but for the way he destroyed families whole. His crimes revealed the vulnerabilities of a society in transition, a police force underfunded and unprepared, a countryside left exposed. His story is studied by criminologists as an example of how abandonment and trauma can twist into monstrous violence, but also as a reminder that some killers are driven not by reason, but by impulses beyond comprehension. What makes Anatoly Onoprienko so terrifying is not only the number of his victims, but the manner in which he killed. He entered homes, places of safety, and turned them into slaughterhouses. He did not strike strangers in alleys. He destroyed the heart of families. In doing so, he shattered not only individual lives, but the very fabric of community. He left villages scarred, generations ended. His killings were like acts of war, executed by a single man with a shotgun and a will to annihilate. He turned the simple act of family life into a vulnerability, and for years an entire nation lived in fear of the knock on the door that might never come, or the sound of footsteps outside at night. The beast of Ukraine remains a symbol of horror. His story is told not to glorify him, but to remember his victims, to confront the reality that evil can emerge from neglect, from abandonment, from silence. He was a boy without a mother, a man without a home, who became a killer without remorse. His life is a testament to the dangers of unchecked rage and the fragility of human safety. He is a reminder that behind every closed door, even in the quietest village, shadows can move and monsters can come. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Crimson Narratives for more haunting journeys into the darkest corners of human history. Because only by remembering can we honor the victims, and only by telling these stories can we guard against the monsters who still walk among us.